Why is the government of Kenya at war with its smallholder farmers? Why is the government of Kenya hell-bent on promoting, supporting, making more profit for American agrochemical corporations? The government of Kenya plans to appeal a decision made by the Kenya High Court last year, December 2025. This decision by the Kenya High Court deemed parts of the Seed and Plant Varieties Act illegal, unconstitutional, because this act criminalized the saving and sharing of indigenous seeds amongst smallholder farmers, among Kenyan farmers. So the government of Kenya plans to appeal this decision by the Kenya High Court. So the judicial system in Kenya seems to be working for the Kenyan people, but the Kenyan government is working counter-revolutionary. With this landmark ruling in place, farmers are not going to be penalized. They're not going to be fined 1 million Kenya shillings and face up to 2 years in jail for sharing traditional seeds, for sharing seeds that have not been patented by American agrochemical corporations like Bayer. But here comes the Kenya government wanting to uphold this 2012 punitive law that is going to cause damage of epic proportion to our food sovereignty as Kenyans. And this issue is inextricably linked to the issue of health sovereignty. How are these two things connected? Right now, the US and Kenya are in a healthcare cooperation framework. And part of this framework is the United States, as part of its America First campaign, is going to be allowed access to the Kenyan people's healthcare data, their genetic sequencing, and all of these things, pathogen exchange programs, they're calling it. And the High Court of Kenya also on this case. The institution, that is the Consumer Federation of Kenya, is challenging this memorandum of understanding between Kenya and the US, this healthcare cooperation framework. But the Kenya government is working in opposition of this. It wants to have the Kenyan people's data be exposed in this way. I wanted to bring this to our attention because in a place like Zambia right now, Zambia has a lot of copper. All of these copper reserves the United States wants. And so what is the US doing? It is leveraging its power as the entity that has access to HIV medication, tuberculosis medication, polio medication, all of these healthcare services that Zambia needs. The US has. So the US is holding this over Zambia's head, wanting access to Zambia's mineral resources. And if Zambia does not acquiesce, then the United States is going to withdraw its healthcare support for the Zambian people. And so how is that food being connected to the healthcare system? Food sovereignty and health sovereignty are two things that...
The IMF, the World Bank, they're part of a global economic architecture that was designed during colonial times. The United Nations itself was designed during colonial times, right? For a long time, the UN had less than 50 member states because the rest of the world was colonized. So it was the colonizers who established the UN, it's the colonizers who established the World Bank, the IMF, and who dominated the creation of the rest of the economic architecture. So an economic architecture that was not designed by us, that was not designed for us, why do we expect it to deliver justice for us today? Mm-hmm. And I'll give you another kind of point that people should reflect on. The fact that so many of our countries, Kenya included, have been essentially following to the T economic policy instructions dictated by the World Bank and IMF in particular for decades. The fact that we are still in a debt trap today, deeper in debt traps today, means one of two things. Either that these institutions are actually incompetent and we shouldn't listen to them, or they're actually doing this as part of their intentional economic entrapment. It's got to be one or the other. Either way, from our perspective, their model should be rejected. Their model of development, their instructions and prescriptions and conditionalities are designed to produce entrapment. So that's something that all of us should reflect on.
Many people will not agree with me today, but I want us to keep emotions aside and try to understand South Africans just a bit. South Africa is one of the most unequal societies in the world, and that inequality is a direct legacy of apartheid. Political power changed in 1994, but economic power did not redistribute at the same pace. Land distribution, access to capital, and high-income sectors remain structurally skewed. What this means is that millions of Black South Africans are still competing in an economy where opportunities are limited and unemployment is persistently high, entry-level opportunities are scarce, informal sectors are saturated, and upward mobility is structurally constrained. Now, add migration into that same environment. Many migrants come in desperate to survive, willing to accept lower wages, and employers looking for cheaper labor will often choose them over locals. Migrants also charge less for services just to survive. And from a ground level perspective, that creates real competition. So when people say foreigners are taking opportunities, that feeling is not coming from nowhere. But here is the part we have to understand clearly. The real issue is not just the people competing. It is the system that is not creating enough opportunities for everyone. Because when pressure builds, people don't always confront the system. They confront the nearest and most visible competitor. And that is how frustration slowly turns into what we now call xenophobia. This does not justify violence, but if we ignore the structure behind it, we will keep repeating the same circle without solving anything. So, my dear Africans, yes, we are one people, but we also have a responsibility to build and strengthen our own countries so that survival does not depend on leaving home. Thank you all for watching this video and drop your thoughts in the comments.
Yes, people, this is our response to the Iran-Israel-US war. We don't business with any fighting. This is how we're fighting. We're fighting a food war, because food is the staff of life, and it is food first for us and our tradition. The tradition of Mayal in Jamaica is not to just beat drum and sing and dance and tumble down and flash rum, but it's also to till the earth, to work with Mother Earth, Mama Atabe, and to build and grow with her and with all the spirits of the land. This is what we believe in. This is what it is. Food first.
Moderator, and I was taught that a good question deserves a good answer. Yeah, so I understand food sovereignty in two ways, and allow me to answer you in two parts as well, which is, so I'll answer you in the Africa that we have, and I'll also answer you in the context of the Africa that we want. So the food sovereignty, I think this is when African communities have control, when Zambian communities have control on their crops, how to grow them, and who benefits from them. That's the true food sovereignty, and that is the Africa that we want. And then the Africa that we have is the Africa that imports about 60% of our food. I was reading this at the time. About 60% of our food we import, and statistically it says about 40 billion to 50 billion US dollars worth of food per year. That's what we import. That's the Africa that we have. And then the Africa that we have again is the Africa that depends on food aid, that depend on US aid. The Africa that depend on WFP, the World Food Program. That is the Africa that we have. So my understanding to true food sovereignty. So when you're asking me my understanding on the true food sovereignty, I'll talk about that one when we Africans have total control of our crops, how we grow them, and we benefit from them. Thank you. I think that is really powerful.
Yeah. Jamaicans are Africans by DNA, not by culture. Yeah? So I'm Jamaican, but born in Britain. So Technically, if I'm Jamaican, it means I'm technically African by DNA, not by culture. And I'm fucking glad, because some of those foods, I see some of them people they eat. Nah, I'm good. No, thank you. And I remember one time, you ain't lying. One of my parents, their people came over, and I can't remember what they was talking about, but all I heard a man say is, you know, slavery was horrific, you know, it was a terrible thing that happened, but you know what, I'm kind of glad that it happened, because some of those foods, boy, now we was all laughing, but at the same time, yo, we shouldn't have been laughing. Like, yo, slavery, like, yo, if you just check and do a bit of research on that, the crazy things that happened to some of my ancestors, yeah? So, like, it's just crazy now, but yo, I'm glad I'm Jamaican, because boy, I don't want to be consuming them foods. But
you get this part. Now, farmer, they go give them organic seed. Okay, in your natural organic farm, he did this place here. He don't plant them, organic farm. Natural seed we God give them. He put them for here. Then he go just cross road like this, just plant in GMO seed. Plant them here. Ordinary president, this GMO farm where they here,
go attack.
You go cross pollinate with this farm.
You go
here.
attack this one.
So this one where not naturally, it is sterile. Anything from here, you know, feel replant them. This one, anything from here, you feel replant them. All the things where they here, you go cross pollinate with this one. You can't make this one be like this one. This one go sterile.
Hey.
So for Mexico, they can't find out, say, all the natural seed where God don't give them. They can't find out, they don't see them again. They find them, they don't see them, because Mexico is the land of maize. Their hometown, if I see their name is similar, Mexico maize. So they can't find the natural seed where they get. They can't find them, they don't see them again. This resulted to their president in 2023. The man stand up, he give national decree. He say, from today, no more importation of GMO corn from America. He said, number one.
I see Mexico, see America.
In our hair, na trade treaty. They don't get business, they import maize before. But because of trade treaty, he can't first ban them first. Then he can't talk, say, plus glyphosate also. Make them no use them again for this country. The reasons why he give, say, because of the, first of all, to protect their heirloom, that's their natural seed, and also to ensure the health and safety of his citizens. Now, waiting the president of Mexico talk be that.
Food sovereignty is more than food security. It's about who controls Africa's agricultural destiny, from the seed in the soil to the price on the shelf. For too long, Africa has depended on others for fertilizers, seeds, and machinery. The war in Ukraine showed how fragile that dependence can be, but it also sparked an awakening. Across the continent, nations are reclaiming control. In Ethiopia, the recently announced construction of Gode Fertilizer Complex signals a new era of self-sufficiency. Morocco's OCP is powering African fertilizer supply. Nigeria's Dangote plant fuels regional growth. And from Ghana to Rwanda, agri-tech innovations are empowering farmers like never before.
Africa cannot truly be free unless we are able to control our own food system. My name is Matthew Bernard. I'm a Tanzanian, a farmer and agribusiness consultant, and today I want to share my vision for African agribusiness. I believe Africa has about 6% of the global arable land, and plus we have a high number of youth population, we have very good conducive climate, and we have the water. These are the potential for feeding ourselves and feeding the continent. But the problem is we import too much and we export the raw material. But the solution is simple, is to treat agriculture as a serious business. And of course, given that we can import the technology with a strong youth population, and of course, moving from subsistence to commercial farming, we can transform the narrative. I believe youth should not treat agriculture as a punishment, but rather a place of abundance. If you believe and share the common vision with me, follow me for more.
The GDP of Africa is now 3.6 trillion. All of us, imagine, the whole of Africa. Egypt, South Africa, Algeria, all of us. 3.6 trillion. And we are 1.5 billion people now. And our land area, the land area of Africa is 4 times the size of the United States. And our population is now 5 times the population of the United States of America. But our GDP is 3.6 trillion and GDP of the USA is 32 trillion. So, all of us together, in terms of wealth, are only 10% of the wealth of the United States. This is a big shame. Why should this be the case? There's been some talk that there was no other way in the past. I don't believe that. If you look at China, you people can go and get the figures. China was very, very poor, very underdeveloped when the communists took over. But they were able, because of discipline and clarity, were able to save and start investing in their economy, even when they were still very poor. So it is ideological. It's not just money. It's not money. This is more than money.
Somebody has finally put the South African problem into context.
If your country, South Africa, which is one of the wealthiest sub-Saharan African countries, you guys should have great compulsory public education. If they did a good job for you Black Africans, you guys would be higher skilled than the people coming from Congo, the people coming from Zimbabwe, the people coming from Mozambique. So when they come in, they would occupy your low-level jobs, and you would not be competing with them economically. That's number one.
South Africans are busy attacking garden boys, shopkeepers, car wash attendants, barbers, petrol attendants, housekeepers. These are the jobs that South Africans are fighting for. The jobs that when South Africans are shouting, they're taking our jobs, those are the jobs that South Africans are fighting for. Africa's richest country, the largest producer of gold worldwide, South Africa. The citizens are fighting against foreigners who are taking these lowly jobs.
So the fact that you think you're competing with these economic migrants only reveals flaws in your existing system, which lets you know that the fat cats at the top, i.e. the white people and the Asians, little buddy, they're the ones that are milking your country and the resources. And some of them go by names like the Oppenheimers. Yes, some own entire mines. And it's so funny that the richest people from South Africa are the Elon Musk or the Oppenheimers, the whites. And you guys are so brain dead that you would like to attack your Black brothers who are in the exact same situation that you guys are in. That's true stupidity.
This is exactly what Malema has been shouting for how many years now? But South Africans can't get it. Can't get it. Can't get it. Stand with Malema. Fight against your government for not providing these essential things like a proper education, free education. What happened to the free university education movement? Stand with Malema to fight for these fundamental rights that you have as South Africans and improve your lives. Don't be competing with non-educated Africans coming from the rural end of Africa. South Africa. Wake up.
So there's a war on African farmers, a war on African food security and sovereignty that is happening right now across the continent, and we need to talk about it. I just finished watching a documentary about how in Cameroon, the onion farmers there have been completely pushed out of the marketplace because the government has decided to import onions from the Netherlands, and other EU countries. If you know anything about African food, you know that onions are a base. They are a staple. Onions also have many other medicinal uses. And so these Cameroonian farmers have found themselves in a position where they cannot grow their onions and sell them in the marketplace because these other onions from the EU are much cheaper. In a place like Eastern Congo, the millions of people who've been displaced there, many of them were farmers who have been forcibly removed from their villages so that multinational companies can grab the resources underneath this land. In Kenya, the government has decided that formerly freehold land, farmers who formerly outrightly owned their land now must be subject to mountains of bureaucracy, now must be subject to the state leasing out this land. Seeds are now being patented by companies like Cargill, by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Poisonous fertilizer is being sold to farmers, and so it is a big mess. In Sudan, the UAE is grabbing up land in the name of carbon credits. This is happening throughout the continent. And today, on Africa Liberation Day, where we're celebrating 61 years since the Organization of African Unity was formed, now the AU, we have to wonder, where is this entity? What is it doing? When a transformational leader like Ibrahim Traore says that agriculture, we have to think about our food first because he who feeds you controls you. Africa is home to 60% of arable land, 60% of farmland, the rivers and lakes in this place. There is no way, there is no reason why there should be any type of famine on this continent. And it is something we have to reflect on and we have to think about and we have to keep talking about. Farmers are suffering in Africa.
The United States destroyed Haiti's food security and then sent its garbage there while the country was still drowning. Some of the kindest, most open, and hospitable people on earth are the poorest ones. I've been to India, Nigeria, Vietnam, and lived for a stint in Haiti, and they would all give you their last bite of food, a place to sleep, and happily to do so. But that resilience comes out of survival and meddling by foreign powers in the West. The United States is one of the main culprits. Haiti used to feed itself. The Artibonite Valley was one of the most productive rice-growing regions in the entire Caribbean. Haitian farmers just weren't able to survive. They were thriving, feeding the nation. Haiti didn't need anybody else's rice. And in 1994, as a condition of US military support to restore Haiti's president to power, Haiti was pressured to slash its rice import tariffs from 35% down to 3%, one of the lowest in the entire hemisphere. Meanwhile, American rice farmers, especially in Arkansas, were receiving massive federal subsidies. The American rice could be exported to Haiti at prices even Haitian farmers could never compete with. The Artibonite Valley collapsed. Hundreds of thousands of farmers lost everything. With nowhere to go, they migrated to Port-au-Prince, flooding the hillside slums that would later be ground zero for the 2010 earthquake. Haiti went from feeding itself to depending on American imports for the majority of its rice. And Bill Clinton, who pushed this policy, admitted it in 2010 that it may have been good for Arkansas farmers, but it destroyed Haiti.
We rich countries that produce a lot of food should sell it to poor countries and relieve them of the burden of producing their own food. So thank goodness they can leap directly into the industrial era. It has not worked. It's maybe been good for some of my farmers in Arkansas, but it has not worked. It was a mistake. It was a mistake that I was a party to. I am not pointing the finger at anybody. I did that. I have to live every day with the consequences of the lost capacity to produce a rice crop in Haiti to feed those people.
We genuinely thought we were helping Haiti when we restored President Aristide, made a commitment to help rebuild the infrastructure through the Army Corps of Engineers there and do a lot of other things. And we made this devil's bargain on rice, and it wasn't the right thing to do.
While American rice was flooding Haiti's markets, American garbage was literally being shipped to Haitian shores. In 1986, a cargo ship called the Cayenne Sea left Philadelphia carrying 14,000 tons of toxic incinerated ash, talking heavy metals, dioxins, leads, cadmium. Philadelphia couldn't legally dump it at home anymore. Environmental regulations had gotten too tight, so they tried to dump it somewhere else. The ship was rejected by Bermuda, the Bahamas, Honduras, the Dominican Republic, Guinea-Bissau. Country after country said no. Haiti said yes, because Haitian officials were told it was fertilizer. 14,000 tons of toxic ash dumped on a beach in Gonaive. When Haitian authorities found out what it actually was, they demanded it be removed. The crew loaded some of it back onto the ship, then in the middle of the night, renamed the vessel, changed its flag, and dumped the rest into the ocean. And this wasn't a one-time thing. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, wealthy nations were actively routing toxic and municipal waste to poorer countries across the Caribbean and Africa because it was cheaper than disposing of it properly at home. It got so bad that the international community created the Basel Convention in 1989 specifically to stop this. The United States signed it and it never ratified it, meaning it was never legally binding on American actors. American policy destroyed Haiti's ability to grow its own food. American ships were poisoning Haiti's land and water, and American institutions were making sure there was no legal consequence for any of it. Haiti didn't fail. Haiti was failed deliberately, repeatedly, time and time again, and profitably. So the next time someone asks why Haiti is the way it is, tell them it didn't happen by accident. It's a series of incidents done purposely by the West to teach Haiti, the first free black nation who dared to go against the Western powers and European institutions, that will never let you thrive. But Haitians and Haiti are resilient and still survive till this day. Stay black, stay blessed. Ciao.
So you say knowledge. You know say hungry is an illusion. How are you going, brother?
Yes, man. Me have green skin here, so me have fire rocket.
Yes.
Me have number one. Me have the unknown. Crutch me throat so till it crutch me. We have sour sap. Yo, people, listen to me, youth. In Jamaica, the largest set of mango in the whole Caribbean, they carry come, and guess what? We don't have a box drinks with mango juice. I know the government love you, though.
Done.
Yeah, man. I know I love you, man.
It's the illusion with them
Yeah,
a paint
man.
you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. And them a talk about hungry, since you don't have no rice and flour in your cage. You see all of the foreign turn over there, man. Now come me last time I do a video like this. One sensible one come and say, oh, you can have mango flavor. More freeze if you're on this a season until the season come back. Me not talk near me. And you see if you look at man we chat about me, I'll catch diabetes. For the record, no. For the record, no. Sure, mango no give you diabetes, eh? You know what give you? White rice. It's a continue dead start.
Yeah, man.
Yo, hold on, make a crawl over. Why? Yo, you don't want to tell me say this are no riches? Which one me fi buy it? Well, I don't want that. Wait, make her take this. Alright, get voila. Alright, let me.
Alright.
Hello, beautiful and amazing people. So, guys, today we are talking about something that is really important to all of us, and that is about Africa and Jamaica. So, our elders or our forefathers once told us that we should actually be in charge of our food and be dependent on ourselves, or be independent to ourselves. They talked about food sovereignty, and that will be our topic in today's video. So I want you to sit down and listen very, very carefully, because this is not just about food. You have heard it in the clips that we just played. And one thing that I noticed, people are talking about survival, and people around the world, across Africa, across the Caribbean, they are actually warning Africa. Jamaica is warning Africa and Jamaica at the same time. Our elders, our forefathers warned us, and oh my God, we didn't listen. We did not listen, guys. Now, the consequences are here with us. There is high prices of food. Farmers are struggling. Our markets are filled with imports, both of various categories. Category A, B, and C, the same product. And of course, so many countries, especially third world countries, are losing control of what they eat. I mean, this is all that we will be talking about, and that is food sovereignty. If you may ask yourself, what does food sovereignty mean? What would you say? Actually, it is something very simple. Sovereignty means control. So if you say food sovereignty, it's food control, being able to control over your food, controlling your land, being able to control your seeds, and of course, that means that at the end of the day, you will have a country, you will have an island that can feed itself. So you see, it's controlling everything, the land, the seeds, and also the food. Sovereignty, in simple terms, also could mean not depending on other people for survival or for anything. So, my good people, sovereignty is all about not begging. It's all about not panicking when global prices rise. And of course, many experts do define food sovereignty as the right of the people to choose their own systems. And in this case, the right of the people to choose their own food systems, to grow what they eat, to eat what they grow, to grow what they eat, and to eat what they grow. That is very, very simple. So, from the clips, you've heard Africans talking that Africa should be feeding the world because Africa has land, Africa has energetic people, Africa has knowledge, Africa has the manpower, Africa has good climate, and it's sad that there is something wrong because Africa is importing billions of food, or in terms of food. So guess what, guys? Over 43, close to 53 billion worth of food is being imported in Africa in a single year. And if you think about that critically, Africa is a land with vast farmland. But us being in a position that we are still depending on imports, oh my God. And most of you are like, why? Because it's simply because the global systems changed the game on how things are run. And little did we know, very cheap imports flooded into our markets. Therefore, our local farmers could no longer compete. Slowly by slowly, production declined. Slowly by slowly, everything went down, jobs were lost. And of course, according to reports, it said that cheap foreign food in most cases does weaken local farming and shifts people away from local food. So that's not accidental, by the way, it's a structure. And it's very dangerous. That's a structure, a system that was created by the colonizers. If you look at Jamaica at the moment, the story is similar. It's only that we are different geographically, but we are all facing the same problem. Jamaica also imports 90% of its food. The Caribbean imports over 60% of what they eat. And I can tell you that over 60% is not independence, it's a dependence. If you look at history in Jamaica, you can clearly see that this did not happen by chance. Systems were created to shape the agriculture in Jamaica. Colonial systems were created a structure that shaped how Jamaican agriculture is going to be. Plantation, most of the time, they did grow crops for export purposes only, not for the local people of Jamaica. And today, that remains the same. So, if you look at things the way they are, agriculture in Jamaica is actually declining. Land is being lost. Farmers are struggling. Production is going down. Imports are flooding the markets, and that is a huge crisis. And I can tell you that our elders were right. If you happen to be close to an elder, like around 80 years plus, and you have a conversation with them about this issue, they will tell you something very simple, that when they were young, they used to grow their own food. They used to eat their own food from their own land. They did not depend on imports. And they understood something that modern systems tend to ignore. That is the food power, food security, and food identity. In Africa, traditional foods are still like part of the survival tactics. If you look at indigenous crops, they are actually able to be preserved locally, not by freezing or things to do with that, just by fermentation, sun drying. And if you look at Africa, especially in the interior parts, these systems are still being practiced. It's not like they're outdated. And I can tell you this is a survival tactic. But today, guys, all this have gone down. Of course, for convenience purposes, it has gone down because of flooded imports of food in our markets and so many other things. And of course, there is a price being paid, by the way, because if you have a farm, there must be a farm driver, a truck driver. There must be those that sell in the market. So all these people, they are losing jobs. And if you look at the import trap in itself, it looks cheap at the very first sight. But then it comes with a cost, because when you import food, you weaken local farmers. You lose agricultural skills. You depend on foreign supply chains. And this all leads to suffering. We saw this during the COVID-19 pandemic. We have seen it in global conflicts. We have seen how shipping stopped because of the war, Iran-US-Israeli war. Because at this point, countries couldn't export anything or import anything. And people suffered because they couldn't depend on themselves. And that's a very bad idea. Sometimes when disaster hits, for instance, hurricane, drought, global crisis, imports tends to be slow. And on the other hand, prices go up. And the thing that happens next is that things become terrible. If you imagine in the Caribbean islands, when storms come in, they destroy so many things. And if you look at on the other side of the farmers, they get to lose a lot and a lot. In Africa, it's the climate that it's as hard. And because most of us depend on imports, this impact becomes worse. We cannot depend on ourselves. That's the reality, guys. Food security is very important. Food sovereignty is also very important. I know most people do confuse the two. Food security means you can easily access food, even if it's imported. Food sovereignty means you are able to control your own food that you produced locally. In fact, relying on imports is not enough, by the way, because at the end of the day, it has limits. And of course, and again, real food security comes from local production. If you locally produce enough food, then you have food security. So, food security is all about survival, and food sovereignty is being able to control. And I don't know, what do you think is the solution to all these problems that we just talked about? Number one, we need to invest in our local farmers. We need to protect our agricultural land. We need to use local seeds, not genetically made ones. We need to support traditional knowledge and improve technology. We need to build supply chains. Africa, for instance, already does this. That is through agroecology, through seed sharing, through community farming, and of course, knowledge is key. Jamaica, on the other hand, I believe they can do the same. But of course, they need a shift and a mindset change. Because, mindset is very important, especially economically. Mindset is psychological. People believe imported food is better. People believe imported food is more modern and more desirable. And that belief, I can tell you, it's very dangerous, because it kills our local industries, and people don't see that. And once our local industries die, then they are hard to revive. So generally, this is a warning for us Africans, a warning for us Jamaicans, that from history, from our elders, if you cannot feed yourself, you are not truly independent. If you depend on importation, then you are vulnerable. And if our local farming system collapses, then that means our future will collapse. Thank you so much if you listened to our video. I do appreciate your presence. I'll see you in the next video. That is tomorrow, same